Yes, Jack, you're absolutely right. This week's test has been determined by one of our viewers, and I'd just like to say thank you to all of you out there. You're really sending through some proper questions now. And this week, I've had one from a guy by the name of Garfield, which I presume is some kind of email handle or something. But anyway, Garfield, he's been having a little bit of a moan at us, and it's completely understandable. Why are we always testing exotic bikes? Why are we always testing expensive bikes? Fair point, we have been testing a lot of the latest, greatest exotic motorcycles recently, so in an attempt to answer Garfield's question, he wants to know if he's got 100 grand to spend, what kind of all-rounder can he get? Well, there are some good bikes out there, Garfield, and one of them is a Honda CBR1000. All-rounders, not a very sexy term for a motorcycle, is it? And they're often overlooked, these workhorses of the motorcycle market, undeservedly so, because they do offer an enormous amount of bike for the money. So what is an all-rounder? Well, basically, it needs to have a decent-sized engine, it needs comfortable riding ergonomics, and most of all, it needs to be affordable. This CBF fits the bill, but for it to really do its job properly, it needs to be better than the granddaddy of all-rounders, and that's the Suzuki Bandit.
And here it is. They might have dropped the Bandit name, it's now just called the GSX-1250FA, but to all intents and purposes, it's exactly the same bike that's been around for about 50 years or so. You have to ask yourself why it's been around that long. And there's a very good reason, because it does what it does very well, and they haven't needed to change a damn thing about it. It's got a stonking great motor, bags of low-down torque, it's comfortable, it does everything you need it to do, and as Matt said, the price is right. 105,000 or 115 with all the luggage, it's a bargain.
Bargain is obviously a relative term, because 100,000 rand is still an awful lot of money. But compared to many superbikes and full-dress tourers that can cost double that amount, these two all-rounders are bordering on dirt cheap, especially when you consider that luggage system. A full fairing for the Suzuki instead of the half-faired Bandit that we're all so familiar with, but underneath the skin, the 1255cc four-cylinder engine is the main attraction. Super smooth and gruntier than a women's tennis final. A single exhaust tucked away neatly underneath the panniers takes care of the noxious fumes, but with the panniers off, the luggage rack messes with the otherwise neat and tidy bodywork. The brakes, well, they're nothing fancy, but they work a lot better than they look, especially with the standard ABS, which adds another level of safety to the braking equation. The cockpit is quite sparse, but everything you need is here, including a gear position indicator. The screen looks low and is unadjustable, but still does provide great protection. Unlike the screen on the Honda, which is manually adjustable, but somehow isn't quite as effective. The overall shape of the CBF, though, does come across as more modern and distinctly more sporty, perhaps because it's only half-faired. The Honda's front end has a sleek, sporty feel to it, so it makes sense that the four-pot engine originally started its working life in a 2006 Fireblade. Though it's obviously been detuned significantly for this new role, it's still an eager unit. Included in the price of this Cayenne version of the CBF is a Racetech silencer that adds a suitably sporty soundtrack to the riding experience. Like the Suzuki, there's an ABS braking system, but the Honda also has linked brakes, meaning whichever lever you use, front and rear stoppers are always brought into play. A high handlebar for comfort and an attractive set of instruments that aren't quite as comprehensive as the Suzuki's, despite the double digital display. Both bikes are quite basic, but they have everything needed to fill the all-rounder role.
There's a lot of people out there who don't want to be scared silly every time they get on a bike. And this is exactly the bike for them. Big, fat, lazy, comfortable. It'll do everything you need it to do, and it's been around for decades. So you know it's not going to break down, they've got it right. It's just going to do everything you need it to do, and it's going to keep on doing it. And the engine is an absolute stonker. Unlike the Honda, you don't have to rev it at all. It's just got torque everywhere.
That comparatively torquey nature is due to the 25% capacity advantage of the Suzuki, and combined with a seriously smooth delivery, you've got an engine that ranks up there as one of the greats for making relaxing but rapid progress. Factor in a riding position that is comfortable for hours at a time, suspension that isolates you from the worst our roads have to offer, And you have a massively capable touring bike that can hold its head high in comparison with many, much more expensive long-distance workhorses. As an all-rounder, the Suzuki undoubtedly sets the bar pretty high. So can the Honda get even close to such a mix of abilities? I tell you what, for two bikes that are supposed to do the same sort of business, very, very different feel to them. This Honda is a revvy little beast. It might be an inline four, it might be an old Fireblade motor, but it still needs caning to get the best from it. This CBF cuts a much more sporting figure. Not just because of the engine, which likes to be revved, but also the handling. It's quite firm on these sort of normal roads, and having taken it to a track previously, I can tell you, it's quite good fun on a track day. So, in a way, from my point of view, this more modern Honda has got the all-round thing down much better than the Suzuki. That was until I covered some distance and completely changed my mind. Sorry, forgot something. I'm trying to pump up the Honda, but to be fair, the Suzuki makes a much better tourer. I shouldn't have forgotten that. And after spending a couple more days with both bikes, that change of heart felt like the right decision. I occasionally hankered after more touring ability on the Honda, but never felt like I needed more sportiness from the Suzuki. I'm not so convinced the Honda's the one. Harry, tell me, you've been mainly with the Suzuki that I desperately want to call a bandit, and I shall keep calling a bandit.
You do it.
Thank you.
You just do that. I know if it was for looks, I'd go for that. But for all-round just ability and just ease of use, this is the one.
Well, I think you might be right, Harry. The only thing that really the Honda excels at in comparison to the Suzuki is the looks. They are a little bit more modern. Let's just go through it, Harry. What do you think? Engine?
That revs, this has got more torque. This is the more user-friendly bike, definitely.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Harry there. Extra capacity for the Suzuki, with it being a 1250, gives it all the grunt in the world. And when you're talking about all-round motorcycling, ease of access for the power is what it's about, so grunt rules. Harry, handling.
That's probably more of a sportier feel. This is just a better all-round touring, quite soft, but never floppy. It's taut enough without being like loose all over the place.
Which is the better value?
Hands down, the Suzuki. It just does more, better than the Honda. And with the luggage fitted as well, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think he's right. It's 105,000 rand naked is the Suzuki, 115 with the panniers, so 10 grand for the extras is pretty good. This rocks in a fair bit cheaper at 89, and that comes with a free locally made exhaust silencer as well to give it that fruity noise. Basically, both of them are fantastic value for money. This is a slightly younger man's option, I think, and that's for old blokes like Harry who like to go touring with his pets and his family and that sort of thing. Either way, both great bikes. Thanks, Garfield.